Normally we're already past that point.
We hadn't even got to that point. Someone was playing Showdown.
Shut up. I blame Jay.
Sure.
Jay's not here to defend himself. That means it's okay to throw him under the bus, right?
I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna send it to
Jay. Please do.
I will clip it. I'm gonna send it to Jay.
Just no context.
Or just stick it somewhere in the podcast or make a short out of it.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 154 of Littleroot Lessons. As always, I'm your host, Carter Noble, joined by our fantastic co-host, Carl Wilkin. What's up, dude?
I am tired.
Dude, I feel that. And like the worst part is I haven't done anything today. When am I not tired?
Like that's like always the question.
That's like also true. You know, you have a very busy life going on.
Yeah.
So like I feel that.
I got a lot of stuff going on. Like, my boss is gone for at least this week, going into next week. So I'm working all this weekend. Yay, Super Bowl, whatever. The superb owl.
The superb owl.
But I'm excited to talk Pokemon because I haven't really, other than team building for Knoxville with y'all, I haven't touched Pokemon, like, at all.
I have played a lot of Showdown the last couple of days, and I've come to the conclusion that Showdown sucks.
Yeah, we knew that.
Like, I can't wait to get, like, a team settled so I can start building it on a cart so I can actually, like, start figuring out what I want to do. Because right now, man, it is just... The wasteland that is Showdown ladder is awful, and I hate it.
I mean, cart ladder's not any better, but... Like, if you have it on cart, you can start playing in events, so you can start, like, actually practicing. So that's kind of the bonus there. You could also probably do that on Showdown for people that are running Showdown events. I'm sure there's some out there. But
I'm sure there probably is. It's just a matter of, you know, finding them and playing in them. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun team building today in our little Knoxville prep group. I think we posted like 4 or 5 different teams, and everybody's on something different now, testing it. I know you were playing with like some Trick Room team, and
if you all don't go like follow me on Twitter, you all are missing out because my Twitter feed is nothing but just like memes of us team building right now, and it's pretty freaking funny.
I told you this morning, it's like if you don't have a team picked out by next Friday, you're playing Dondozo.
I told you absolutely not.
Now I'm gonna hack your game, and I'm gonna make every team a Dondozo team for you.
You can try, but yeah, I ain't feeling it, man.
I was like, I'll call my uncle at Nintendo, and I'll get him to
Dozo Bozo ain't my style, man. I've tried it. I'm good.
Like, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's one of the strongest things you could be playing right now. But
I mean. I feel like I've had this argument about like the cold teams back in Sword and Shield too. It's just like too many of them just feel like they just feel too centered around doing the thing. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. They just feel like they want to do that thing and that's it.
I mean, there's teams where they can get away with that and you can do that. And then there were teams like I played in Series 12 that had Colossal on it with like Yveltal, and it wasn't a dedicated Colossal team. It just had it just had Colossal on it as an option if I needed it. And we saw that a lot in Orlando teams. It's just like, oh, here's a Dozo team. Like, this is built around doing Dondozo. You see things like Pawmot, Talonflame, stuff like that. And then you get to like Ashton Cox's team that has just a team that just happens to have Dozo as a water type.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you play teams like that, it'll be more your speed.
No, I fully agree. Like, that, I've always said that, where it's just like, if this has to be like something more than what it is, and man, I'm good.
But
I don't want to.
We're not here to talk Dozo today, though. We can talk about how much I hate Dozo. we have Paradox Pokemon to review because after having our first actual IRL event, our tier list has some hits and has some misses.
You could say that. So this is kind of talking about like the idea of like where they were versus where they are now. Like what, especially like relating back to like Series 0 when we were playing doubles, like doubles OU ladder.
Well,
like
we
talking
had
about like
the Ruin Pokemon to go with all that stuff, and everyone was playing Booster Energy Fluttermane or Folk Sash Fluttermane, and Chi-Yu next to it, and just running everybody down.
Yep.
Definitely the format has changed a little bit in Series 2 without the Ruin Pokemon sitting next to these guys. And let's start with probably the Pokemon that everyone kind of pinned pretty early, Fluttermane.
So here's the thing about Fluttermane. It's still really good.
Yeah.
Like, back then we were like, man, this thing's absurd. This thing's going to be a monster. And I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah.
I feel like our opinion on it hasn't really changed. It's still just like an absurdly good Pokemon that continues to impress us every time we play it.
Yeah.
That being said,
I feel like it's a little overhyped.
I do agree with that. I still do think it's like one of the cornerstones of the format, but I don't see that changing anytime soon. But man, like, because everyone is playing it, everyone knows how to play against it too.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? It's like before we were playing with like Choice Scarf and Chi-Yu and stuff on Series 0, but now that you don't have that access to that fast fire type alongside it a lot of the times, and you're having to like outrace a bundle most of the time, it's not as good, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't sit in front of Pokemon and expect to survive hits. When we were doing testing for Nox this afternoon with Aaron, we found out that Goldango just eats this thing alive even at -2.
Which is absolutely absurd to me.
When you know its special defense is 135, like, this thing just still gets eaten alive by Goldango. And,
yep, absolutely absurd.
And so it's like, if you're not playing Sash, you're probably playing the wrong Fluttermane set most of the time.
And I've said that for a while. I've ran into like Specs and like Specs is the big one. I've seen Life Orb. I'm just like, okay, here, eat this bullet punch for me, thanks.
Yeah, Life Orb is a weird one. I've seen a lot of Specs, and I think Specs is probably the other item. Like if you can't play Sash, you're probably playing Specs because you can pair it with like Tailwind. Mm-hmm. Talonflame's a fine Pokemon to pair next to this thing to try and outspeed things. You just gotta beware of Bundle because Bundle plus Tailwind still outspeeds you.
Yep. 100%.
And so it's interesting to see just like how far Fluttermane will go, because it might be a situation where Goldango is just the better Pokemon, right? The better Ghost type.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that might be something that we see in the coming weeks, is just like how much better Goldango is in a format with Fluttermane, right? Like that is something we very well could see.
Yeah. Speaking of Bundle's the next one on this list. Again, this thing is the fastest thing in the game. If it fits anywhere other than S tier in your tier list, it's wrong.
Yeah, like it's crazy when you go back and watch. I think it was the Pokesports guys. They did a tier list early on, and their big thing is just like, oh, this only has like Hydro Pump. Like its move pools isn't that good. What do we like? I think that's a big hindrance to it. And so as a result, it's just like, man, this isn't going to be as good as we want it to be. And in reality, it's just like, oh, okay.
Do you know how fast this thing is? Do you know
we're gonna hit our
Lucky last year? That's the
we're gonna hit all of our Hydro Pumps and everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. This thing is obviously, it's very, very powerful, a very high special attack, very, very fast. Put a booster energy on it. This thing will take off. We were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, like what will be the adaptation for Bundle as it goes forward. Like, will we start to see like Regieleki were doing, where they were sacrificing speed to be bulkier, and stuff like that.
Which is, I mean, you're running calcs and you're just like, man, if you're modest, you're able to live the hits from the plus speed ones, and then Oko them back. Whereas, they're not able to do that because you're sacrificing speed for extra bulk and extra damage, and so as a result, you can tank these hits and everything. And you're just like, so like, what do you want to do here? Like,
yeah, and that'll be what it comes down to. It's just like, do you want to play booster modest and be able to pick up the Oko against opposing bundles while also only taking like 75% of your HP max most of the time? Or do you want to just have that very fast option with Timid and booster energy and just doing Icy Wind, freeze dry stuff, and hoping to hit Hydro Pumps every once in a while?
Yep, 100%.
It'll be a cool thing to kind of watch Bundle adapt and change as the format develops. I think Bundle being the fastest thing in the game is always going to be a bonus for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's really, really interesting, and I just don't see either of these two things going anywhere anytime soon.
Next. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to ramble on for a little bit longer.
Ramble?
Yeah.
I'm hearing that sirens go by my house. They're coming for me.
Probably, man. You're over here talking. You're talking bundled, just hatred.
Next up is the most played Pokemon at Orlando and our other S tier Pokemon, Iron Hands.
Where do we start with Iron Hands?
This thing's a monster, and it's just really, really strong.
It's absolutely absurd. To put it very, very bluntly, this thing is absolutely absurd.
I feel like we pegged our S tier Pokemon pretty easily. Like, these are all S tier, and they're S tier for a reason, right? Like, Iron Hands is very, very defensively bulky and very strong. Has access to Fake Out and Drain Punch and all these good tools. We've seen multiple different sets come out of Orlando, whether it's Assault Vest, Volt Switch, or Swords Dance Lum. People were playing Belly Drum Citrus over there as well a couple times, but a lot of those kind of get pushed down because they're just not as reliant, because you're making a big sacrifice essentially to get that boost. Well, what was funny in Orlando is everyone's Iron Hands was like, they were expecting them to be slow. So they would only speed creep a little bit, but then somebody's Iron Hand would be faster than that one. And then someone else's Iron Hands would be faster than that one.
It is the natural progression of these like slower Fake Out Pokemon. It's just, well, I want to be faster than them, so we'll speed creep a little more.
So it's like how fast are you willing to go? There were some people that were playing just like max speed Iron Hands and just running people down.
Dude, it's better than people give it credit for. Unironically.
What was funny was I think a lot of those sets are the AV sets because they want to pivot in and out. They want fast Volt Switch. They want fast Fake Out. And so it's just like, I'm bulky enough with my HP numbers that I don't have to invest in HP. Let's just invest in attack and speed and call it a day.
Yep. Yep.
But I think Iron Hands is place in the meta is going to be probably pretty solid for a while. Fighting and Electric's very good coverage right now. It covers a lot of big bases. Think things like Brute Bonnet, Bundle, and stuff like that. So while it does have some problems, I think going forward, we'll start to see people really adapt to beating Iron Hands in the future. But at least after Orlando, this thing is still a monster, and it's probably going to be a monster going into Knoxville.
I mean, I can see it, man. Like, it's really freaking good. And I think it's just one of those Pokemon you have to have an answer for. Like, I think all these Pokemon up in the S tier are all Pokemon you can expect to see a non-zero amount of times over the course of the tournament. And, like, it's going to be probably upwards of, like, 40 to 50% of your matches you're going to see these Pokemon. And I'd be surprised if it's anything less than that.
Yeah, at least one of these three.
Mm-hmm.
Every team. At least one of these three. Let's see here. that brings us into our next tier, which was our A tier. We only had 2 Pokemon in our A tier, and I think one of them was criminally underrated, but Roaring Moon just did not have the weekend that it was supposed to have, I think.
So I think a big problem with Roaring Moon is it's in a format with Bundle and Fluttermane and Iron Hands.
You say that, but like, think about it this way: Roaring Moon has actually a very decent bulk spread for what it is. It's like base 101 special defense and then 71 defense. It's actually fairly bulky, which is very interesting. You tank a lot of hits that you don't think you normally take. I know people were like, we were looking at calcs for it earlier, and it's just like, yeah, you live this fairy move still.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
It's like, wait, you live the 4-time super effective move without much investment? Yeah, you still live it. I think part of the problem for Roaring Moon is just like boost your energy is a one-time deal.
I think that's like, the long and short of it there.
You get one, and if you have to pivot out, it's gone. Like, you don't get it again.
Yep.
So I think the teams that are going to utilize Roaring Moon are going to be probably more like Torkoal teams, things that have access to Sun, or teams that can really benefit from what Roaring Moon does for people. I think it's like Tailwind's very, very powerful. Snarl's very good. When we get down farther down the list, I do have an honorable mention for someone we probably shouldn't have put in D tier, but
we'll get there
when we get there. But I think Roaring Moon just struggles a lot in terms of what people are doing with it right now. Like, everybody wants the booster energy, and you only get one. Like, you can't play Bundle and this on the same team. It just doesn't work.
Yep.
You can't really play Bundle and like Iron Moth and this thing on the same team. It also just doesn't work. But I think this is one of the only Pokemon with access to Breaking Swipe as well.
That sounds correct.
Which I think is a very strong tool. It's just no one gets to play this thing. Yeah, it has Breaking Swipe.
Yep, it does.
So you could do like a Assault Vest style Breaking Swipe Snarl, whatever set you want to, and probably be a very bulky Pokemon actually, and kind of just tank hits and be this annoying support type that still deals damage, right? Like, you're still hitting with what? It's a base 140, base 139.
It does a ton.
It hits like a truck. So yeah, like, I could definitely see a world where you just play like a bulky Roaring Moon and you just like Breaking Swipe, Snarl, Jaw Lock or whatever it is, and then some other coverage move.
Yep.
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I really like I like both of these Pokemon of Roaring Moon, Great Tusk. I think both of them are fantastic.
That's the other big one, right? Is like Great Tusk had an amazing weekend at Orlando. I think this Pokemon overperformed for some people. A lot of people were calling it Average Tusk and not Great Tusk. If you were watching coverage, that was the meme running around.
Man, it like when we did see, I wasn't a part of the tier list, right? Like that was you and Angelo and Manny, and when I saw this thing this high, I'm just like, there's no way. Like, I don't know what you all are on, but this ain't it. Like, this ain't it, Chief. And like, after seeing it played and everything, I'm just like, this thing can cook.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very, very strong. When you combine the fact that it gets Headlong Rush and Close Combat, like these base 120 power moves, like, you can intimidate this thing and it's still gonna hit you like a truck.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, sure, cool. You intimidated me. Cool. Cool story. And that's all it's really doing, right? It's just running people down.
The downside is your base 53 special defense, right? Like, that's the argument there. It's just like, you can't ever live a hit from any of the best Pokemon in the format of Fluttermane Iron Bundle.
Just play
the
Sash.
Fact that you're that's the thing, right? You play Sash and then you're fine. Yeah. Or you play Scarf and then one shot both of them and then like you're done anyway.
Yeah, like Scarf EQ, go. Unfortunately,
dude,
I don't think you're fast enough to outspeed bundle unless you have like Tailwind.
Let me do a calc.
You hit 152.
152.
And then Scarf puts you at
228.
Yeah, you're not fast enough. You're fast enough if they don't have booster energy.
Or you force them to switch. But I mean, like we've talked about, we've seen 100 different sets for Fluttermane, a non-zero amount of which are not booster energy. It's like
the problem
there's your Fluttermane
is
answer.
Bundle. Like the problem is always bundle.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the problem is always bundle, right?
Like you just gotta play Sash. I think you can't play Scarf safely if you can't outspeed bundle on anything.
Which like the team that was really popular was like T-Tar, Great Tusk, Talonflame, right? Like so there's your
T-Tar, Great Tusk bundle. those were the three.
Was there not Talonflame on that team?
Some of them, not all of them.
Okay. So like you had access to your own bundle.
Yeah, you have access to your own bundle.
Tailwind. And you had access to Tailwind, which both allow you to then, one, outspeed the opposing bundle, and two, deal with it effectively. So like, take it or leave it.
Yeah. That was the big thing. Is just like this thing has to have speed control next to it, otherwise it just doesn't do anything.
Which like luckily bundle is also in that camp. If you want, you can also play this next to like Grimmsnarl and like set your screens, and like be bulky that way. You have like your like clay light screen set here, and then, like you're gonna take a non-zero amount less, but probably still not like enough to live hits.
What makes this thing great though is like it's not a booster energy Paradoxmon, right? Like you
don't
have to play the booster energy with it. And so
like the other really good thing about this is like you can just be like you can pair this next to like Torkoal and still get your photosynthesis boost here as well, and just like, man, let me tell you, when this thing gets going, a base 183, a attack stat of 183 when given that photosynthesis boost, it's gonna 237 attack stats.
Yeah, it's a monster.
It just smashes everything, man.
Yep. Unlike its predecessor, Iron Treads, this thing. We'll get to Iron Treads here in a second, but great. I just love how Great Tusk has kind of just slotted itself in the format. Like I have ground coverage and I have fighting coverage. I hit everything in the format in some shape or form, as long as it's not flying.
I want to make a PSA here related to Great Tusk. Please stop playing Assault Vest. It doesn't do anything. Your special defense is garbage.
It depends on the set.
Your two best attacks lower your special defense.
It depends on the set.
Stop playing it.
There is a world where Assault Vest is fine.
It's everything in context, right? Like, obviously. But, man, every time I've seen the Assault Vest set in testing, I'm just like, you don't do anything. You just still die.
It's because the people who are bringing it just see people hitting close combats and headlong rushes and like, oh, I'm just going to click the big move. They don't think about what Great Tusk can do outside of just clicking those two moves.
Yeah.
Like Earthquake spam Great Tusk is great with Assault Vest. You get to do Ice Spinner, knock off Earthquake, and then close combat can be your finisher.
Yep.
But like the one, like if you're gonna play Headlong Rush and close combat, just play Sash, just play Life Orb. Like those are fine.
Yeah, agreed.
That brings us into the B tier, which I'm gonna skip a couple, and we're gonna start with the thing that won Orlando, Screamtail.
So here's the thing about Screamtail, right? This is the thing that everyone wants to hear. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It happened to be on the team that a world champion was playing, and it happened to fill a specific niche on that team very, very well.
Correct.
And the Wolfie piloted it immaculately to a finish. Like,
correct.
You can't slot Screamtail onto your team and expect Screamtail to do work for you. It doesn't work that way.
That being said, Screamtail is really cool, man.
Yeah, there's a lot that Screamtail does.
I'm just pulling up Pikalytics real quick. I want to look up Screamtail because it does more than just like the Perish Song stuff.
Screens, Trick Room, Disable.
I believe it's the second fast imprisoned Trick Room setter.
With Booster Energy, I think you are like the fastest.
No, because Fluttermane also gets it. Oh, and Iron Valiant also gets both. So you are technically third.
Yeah, but if you're doing that with Iron Valiant, something's wrong.
I mean, look, man. People have done crazier things with less. So,
Aaron was a big proponent on this disable Iron Valiant. I'm just like, Screamtail does the same thing. Like, it's bulkier.
It has bulk. Yeah, that's the big thing.
You're taking up what a Pokemon that would be good as an offensive attacker into a support Pokemon, when there is the perfectly good option of a support Pokemon sitting right here.
Agreed. Now that's not to like discredit what Iron Valiant can do.
Yeah.
But man, Iron Valiant is so cool. It's such a cool design.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about design, right? We're here to talk about how good of a Pokemon is it. And in reality,
I think it's still very good. I just think it did So Iron Valiant has a specific niche in the format as being this mixed attacker, which isn't great in the whole grand scheme of doubles, but like when I did the deep dive for this thing, there were some very powerful sets that I'd come up with that slot into certain teams that fill a lot of roles. This thing has access to a very fast Spirit Break. You get access to close combat. You get access to a lot of very good coverage moves. And you can pick up KOs pretty easily just by being Terra Fairy. Like, Spirit Break, I believe the calc was Terra Fairy, Spirit Break into Fluttermane picks up the Oko pretty much every time.
Yeah, which, like, sure, man. Mess them up,
And so, I think we haven't gotten far enough into this format, and we probably never will, because, let's be honest, Series 2 is going to fly by, and we're going to be in Series 3 in about a month and a half, or less than that. And
I can't wait for here in, like, 2 weeks after Knoxville for us to be talking about Series 3.
Yeah. Like, that's what we're going to be. That's what the next step is, right? We're going to probably get Charizard, Cinderace, and all the whatever starters and random Pokemon.
Dude, I'm so excited to play with Greninja. I know it's not going to be good, but I'm so freaking excited to play with it.
It's not going to be good.
I know, man, but I haven't ever got to play with it, and I'm so excited. I want it to be good, and I know it's not.
Yeah. The fix to protein makes it not very good.
It's so weird, but it'll be alright. I'm excited for it.
But back to poor Iron Valiant here. It unfortunately is in a situation where it has no bulk, so it's like you're either playing Sash or you're making up a weird set to play this. Like, I had Assault Vest sets with this, and you could live hits. Like, you could Terra and live hits and be a menace on opposing teams. It's just harder to do so with Iron Valiant than, say, Iron Hands or Great Tusk. Like, there's better fighting type coverage on squads.
Agreed.
What else was in the B tier? Iron Treads and Brute Bonnet. Let's talk about
everyone's favorite little mushroom. Brute Bonnet is by far my favorite, like, Paradox Pokemon to play with.
It's a lot of people's favorites, actually.
It's really close. If it's not Iron Hands, it's Brute Bonnet.
Yeah. Brute Bonnet is another Pokemon that did fairly well in Orlando. Landed B in our list because we thought Amoonguss was just going to really take over its spot and kind of push it out. And what's kind of happened is there's teams that want Amoonguss and there's teams that want Brute Bonnet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Venn diagram. It's just two separate circles.
They're two circles, and that's good.
That
is completely fine.
Brute Bonnet offers a lot of offensive capabilities to teams that might need that option. You still can do redirection things with Brute Bonnet, but I don't think it's as good as Amoonguss since you don't have Regenerator. I talked about it a little bit when we were team building earlier today that Brute Bonnet is... It doesn't want to take... It's bulky enough to naturally take neutral hits well, but you want to avoid those super effective attacks. So your Terra type, if you do Terra this thing, needs to be important. You have to be
Which
specific.
I fully agree. Fully agree.
I know there's people like Terra Fairy, Terra Grass, Terra Water to avoid fire. I personally am a big Terra Fairy fan because you only have 2 weaknesses in Steel and Poison, and Poison's not super duper common, so it's really like you only have 1 weakness, which you when you see a Steel type, you don't ever have to Terra, so you're not like in danger there, and you can just spore things. That's just kind of what this does. It's like, I'm a click Bullet Seed, hit you 4 times guaranteed while you're asleep, and I eventually will whittle you down.
4-hit Bullet Seed, Oko's Fluttermane from full HP if they Terra away from. No, Ghost doesn't resist grass, right?
Ghost doesn't resist grass, bud.
Yeah, so it's just a guaranteed Oko.
Yes.
Like, go away.
Just go away. Which you can set up to the point where, like I said, if you're Terra Fairy, you don't have to worry about the Moon Blast or Dazzling Gleam. I think you can live Dazzling Gleam from everything but Specs Fluttermane most of the time with decent bulk
investment.
That would
not surprise me, yeah.
But definitely have to watch out for that Moon Blast.
Mm-hmm.
But Brute Bonnet is probably would be on my short list of Pokemon that need to move up a little bit.
I would agree. I think it's probably A tier. I think Brute Bonnet is, for me specifically, it is a very good like play pattern behind it. It gets to do Among Us things of like Spore plus Redirection while also being a super offensive Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it can just punch things, and that's awesome.
Yep, you wanted your Amoonguss to have priority, and now has Sucker Punch. There you go.
It's like, just punch them dead, and it's sometimes, like, most of the time, it's good enough.
The big problem is with the uptick in Indeedee Armoroos, you can't really ever click Sucker Punch safely, because, like, terrain's a problem.
And instead, you just crunch them.
Yeah. If you have the slot to play Crunch, play Crunch. Or if you don't want to play Sucker Punch, you can just play Crunch.
Yep.
And that brings us to the last Pokemon in the B tier, Iron Treads. When we did this tier list, I was like, Iron Treads is not very good. Like, this is probably one of the worst Pokemon in the Paradox. And they were both really high on it because of how fast it was, and it hits really hard. I'm just like, nah.
Guys, have you played with this thing? It's not very good.
The thing Iron Treads wants to do is, it's very similar to Great Tusk, right? It wants to hit that Earthquake. You're a very fast Earthquake user. And it ain't it, Chief. It just ain't it. Your attack just can't keep up with what Great Tusk is doing.
Yep.
Remember, right? You're like...
Iron Tread sucks, man.
Like, I compare it to Registeel. It's closer probably to Registeel in the way you play with this thing than anything else, because it's a good bulky steel type. Like, you're probably playing like a Body Press Iron Defense set if you have access to it.
Mm-hmm. Man,
and then like Endeavor and probably like Protect.
So like here's the thing, right? Because it's a future Paradox, it has to run Booster Energy because you're not playing electric terrain to get its ability. So like if you ignore its ability, it's really not for me. So like pulling up its physical moveset, you have Body Press, which is obviously very good. You can Terra Fighting, and it's gonna do pretty decent damage off of base 120's defense, right?
At that point, you
like
just click Iron Defense. Like, there's no point.
Like, exactly. Like, and that's something else you can do, is you can Iron Defense, Body Press, and that's a thing. You have Heavy Slam. You're fairly heavy as a Pokemon. It's Stab, Iron Head, Knockoff, Rock Slide.
You do have access to Rock Tomb, and you're like base 106, so you're not slow by any means. It's just there's other Pokemon that are faster than you. So that's
early on in Series 2. I was playing Iron Treads and DD Pincurchin. Because Iron Treads gets Steel Roller. So you trigger Quark Drive with Pincurchin, you Steel Roller, you then Volt Switch with Pincurchin, and just Steel Roller again the next turn.
I just think that's way too much setup.
It was not good. I'm going to be very blunt. It was not good.
Like, I really think if you do anything with Iron Treads, it's going to be very Registeel-esque. Like, your bulk is not bad, especially for a steel type that notoriously have a lower special defense. Like, base 90 HP, base 120 defense, base 70 special defense. It's much better than Great Tusk's bulk. But you struggle in the fact that a lot of your points are in speed, which that's cool for specifically this set. It's like you can get an iron defense off in front of most people before you get hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be hard to really pressure anything with an Iron Treads in this situation. Especially since you don't have things like Recover or anything like... You have Rest. You can do, like, Rest, Sleep Talk stuff, I guess, if you want to.
Your best form of recovery is Leftovers.
Oh, I lied. You can't even do Sleep Talk. You don't have it.
Yeah.
You get Rest, but no Sleep Talk.
You get Leftovers. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, this would probably be one of my first downgrades that we've talked about today.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
That brings us to C. Is that where we're at?
That sounds correct.
Cool. Iron Moth.
Dude, I've seen a lot of Iron Moth on ladder the last couple days.
So it's interesting, right? Iron Moth is weird. Iron Moth got a lower ranking from me because of the fact that it doesn't have access to just single target poison damage outside of, like, Acid Spray.
You say that, man, but Acid Spray stacks. Like,
the thing is, it's just like you're also 4 times weak to ground, so you almost have to Terra if you don't want to go down immediately.
Yeah.
You almost have to use booster energy on this thing too, and outside, if you want to maximize your special attack, you can't invest in speed. Like, if you want to be speed, you can't go max special attack, and if you don't invest in speed, you're wasting 110 of your stats.
So let's see, you had to be... Luckily...
I think it's timid, it's like timid plus 132 is the magic number in special attack.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. I've done all this math earlier.
That gives you 124 points into, like, your HP and defenses, so, like, you can do whatever you want there. But, man... You can pair this with Iron Treads, and then you can just Sludge Wave.
No.
That's the best I got, mate. No. Pair this with a Steel type and click Sludge Wave.
No.
Which, if you're going to do that, you probably want to do, like... What's your best Steel type here? Probably just, like, Goldango, right?
Probably. I've seen people doing cheeky things with, like, other weird... with Terra Steel next to it. I've also seen people doing King Gambit things with this, which is very, very cool.
I was going to say, King Gambit seems cool. Scizor seems fine. And then, like, Goldango. Like, those are probably the 3 that are reasonable.
But you know what the problem is? All of those other ones want to Terra as well.
Carl, I need you to understand. We're trying to make a not very good Pokemon viable, okay? You need to work with me a little bit here.
We did, and I'm stating the fact that Iron Moth still wants to Terra most of the time.
Okay, so then we pair it next to Poison Resists, so you can't hurt yourself that much. You play it next to Glimmora.
There you go.
4 times resist, you can't poison yourself. We solved it. There you go. Glimmora Iron Moth, guys. Go play it.
Go wild.
Someone else go do the work, because by God, I'm not.
What I've seen people doing, though, here recently is just without the booster energy, just playing like Choice Scarf. Just being Scarf. Because your coverage moves are really, really good. It's like Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Discharge, Bug Buzz, Hurricane, Flamethrower, Heat Wave, Flash Cannon. Like, I could just keep listing off random, like, odd coverage moves that you get access to because you're like an electric Volcarona. But there's
so
a lot.
If you're modest 252, you get to 243 speed with Scarf. That's pretty decent.
That's decent. That's decently fast. Which you'd almost want to be modest with Scarf in this situation, just so you deal more damage.
Yeah, like you said, you get Discharge. Fiery Dance is obviously very good. Heat Wave. You get Hurricane. That's interesting.
Yeah, you
it's a
get
fire type you can
fun.
play next to Pelipper.
Yeah. It also happens to just be like, it has other options into grass types since you do have Acid Spray and or Sludge Wave.
It also gets Strugel Booge. I know that because I just played against it earlier.
Yeah.
It was Iron Moth, Fluttermane, and they went for Strugel Booge.
Strugel Boogel.
And then the next turn, Torkoal blew him up. So, it didn't really matter, but...
It didn't really matter, but it still mattered, and yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. They did a thing, and then it died.
Yeah, it did a thing. The other moth, the one that everyone was, excited to see, I just understand why everyone is as excited for this one. Slitherwing. This is not a good Pokemon, guys.
Carl, it has first impression.
Cool. You get to do it one time before you die.
I listed off the things that make it playable. It gets to do the thing once.
It's cool. It is a cool design. Just like Iron Valiant, this Pokemon has got a very cool design. The move pool just doesn't help you there. Your stats are all over the place. You're really struggling a lot of the times. I believe the big thing is you can't get... Is it a speed boost if you have 31 IVs in attack? It's it's impossible or something.
I think you can't be max IV'd to be able to get anything other than attack boost.
Yeah, you have to be timid. Well, Carter fixes his camera here. I'm going to look up some numbers here. So, max speed is 146 for Slitherwing. In order for you to get your Photosynthesis speed boost, where you actually could do something, because it's not a bad speed tier. It's not like you're Great Tusk types slow, right? You're base 81. Mm-hmm. You would have to have, I believe it's 11 EVs in attack, or be timid. It's just not worth it, I think.
Correct.
Carter...
I give up with my camera.
Carter's just going to be blurry. It'll be fine, guys.
I'm so sorry, everyone. Please yell at me in the comments.
But like you said, you have first impression. So, if you play, a bulky set instead of a fast set, that's cool. What is it? What's your attack? 205? Yeah. 205 first impression, that's probably going to pick up a KO somewhere.
It does a solid chunk.
At least somewhere, right? You get access to close combat as well. You also get access to Earthquake. Flare Blitz is very, very strong. Leech Life if you want recovery and a bug move instead. I think you could probably play close combat, first impression, Flare Blitz, Leech Life with Assault Vest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And just be bulky. I don't know. There's a world where that's fine.
Yeah, probably. Anything's, playable, right?
Speaking of playable, this is a Pokemon this next one is one we did not have on our radar as playable. Sandy Shocks.
Good old Sandy Shocks.
Sandy Shocks made an impact. Gravity is a very interesting thing that no one had really seen or thought about using for a while. And then Gothitelle took off.
Yeah, it's fine, right?
People are doing Espathra things with this. People are doing Gothitelle things with this. It gives you 100% accurate Thunders, which is very, very good for this Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Because you really don't want to play it in the rain. Coverage-wise, you're fine. You have access to all the ground moves. You have access to Power Gem if you want that. Thunder and Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Eerie Impulse, Gravity support moves. Magnetic Flux is still in the game, apparently, so there's an option there. Is there any Pokemon with plus or minus in the game? Is it just Ampharos?
You're on your own on that one, man. I have no freaking idea.
Dedenne and Toxtricity.
No idea.
That's the other two.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Toxtricity's in the game. And I even played it in Series 1. How could I forget?
Yeah, it's literally the Ampharos line, Dedenne, and then Toxtricity has plus or minus.
Sure.
That's it. I love that we have a move in the game that affects those Pokemon, but there's only 5 in the game.
Look, they're trying their best, okay?
But back to Sandy Shocks. I wrote this thing off just because its typing was god-awful terrible, and it still is a fact. Its typing is still god-awful terrible. Most people are playing like Terra Grass now, which is fine because it's like water type attacks are scary. But like this thing, Oko's Bundle, it could do significant damage because you have access to Flash Cannon into like an opposing Fluttermane. Base 101 speed isn't slow by any means. I believe with a booster energy bonus, you get to like, what is it? 168 times 1.5. That's a big number. It's like
you said 168 times 1.5, 252.
Nice. So yeah, like you're decently fast with the booster energy.
I should know that. I've been playing with the
this was the other
dork.
The other team we've been playing with a little bit is like Sandy Shocks Espathra.
It's been fine. Like it was really fun for a hot minute, and you know when it does this thing, it's cool.
Yep. Would I move this Pokemon up a tier into B?
I don't think so.
I mean, I might move it up over Iron Treads.
I think Iron Treads needs to move down.
Iron Treads is definitely moving down.
I think this is more playable than Iron Treads, so probably.
Yeah, that's what I was just like, do I move this above Iron Treads? Most likely. That brings us to the D tier. For those that are unaware of our tier list and the way we made this work, both of these Pokemon
suck.
They don't really suck. It's just that their counterparts have higher base stat totals than they do. But
they're not great.
Iron Jugulis is there's an argument to make Iron Jugulis like an actual decent Pokemon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Iron Jugulis, Dark Flying, same typing as Yveltal, which was very powerful as like the Series 12 format kind of started to solidify and become consistent. This thing has decent bulk, 94 HP and 86 defense, 80 special defense. So like you're not squishy by any means. You essentially have removed one of the big weaknesses for Dark in terms of fighting. So you don't have to worry about close combat or anything like that out of Iron Hands or Great Tusk. You actually are a very good check into opposing Great Tusk since you are just like neutral into fighting and immune to ground.
Yep.
But what this thing does really, really well is its base 108 speed means it's probably the fastest Snarl Pokemon in the game that wants to run Snarl consistently. I believe base 108 puts you with, if you just max invest, is like 176. Which,
okay,
that's fast. That's fast for a Snarl Pokemon.
Agreed.
You don't even really need all that speed because you have access to Tailwind.
Interesting.
So, like we talked about when I hinted at, it was like this is the Pokemon. This is like Roaring Moon wants to probably do this fast Snarl Tailwind stuff. Iron Jugulis does this already for people without having to really worry about having a 4 times weakness to Fairy. Did you know this thing has access to Hydro Pump? No, you didn't.
What? Like, I know I heard you, but come again.
Yeah, this thing has access to Hydro Pump. It also has access to Charge Beam, other weird coverage. You have access to Tri Attack, which is really cool.
Interesting.
But but a lot of what you're going to be doing with this thing is probably more support. Like I said, you have access to Snarl, you have access to Tailwind, you have access to Roar, which is kind of unique. Not a lot of Pokemon have that anymore. You're a very fast taunt user. Being immune to Prankster's good. I think there's a lot that this Pokemon can do for people if the sets are right. It's a very unique niche that has to be filled.
Agreed.
Like,
full agree.
There are better Tailwind users, and I think there are better Snarl users in the format. So Iron Jugulus really has to like fill that role in order to be useful in that role.
Yep, full agree.
Is it enough to pull it out of D? Probably not.
No, not at all. I don't think either of these Pokemon are particularly playable.
The last Pokemon is Mechagodzilla, aka Iron Thorns. Just don't play it.
Yep, that's the simplest way to put it.
There is no redeeming quality to play this thing over Tyranitar. I cannot come up with one.
It is worse in essentially every instance.
The fact that you are missing 30 stats compared to regular Tyranitar, and
it's a lot.
You're trading a 4x weakness to fighting for a 4x weakness to ground.
Yep,
that's a big deal.
It is. Yeah.
Like, I just don't see... If this thing was Dark Electric instead of Rock Electric, I think this would be cool. This would be very niche. It'd be very, very cool and very, very powerful. But the fact that it's Rock Electric is just worse. It's just not worth it.
Yep. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm looking through the moveset. I just can't think of anything of single reason why to play this over T-Tar.
Because you like it.
I would still just play T-Tar. Hey, your camera fixed itself. Look at that.
Hooray!
Just as we're finishing up.
Sure, man. Don't ask me how things work. I don't know.
So, S is fine. We talked about all of our S tiers. They're all fine. We're not going to move any of them. A gets Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet moves up with Great Tusk and Roaring Moon. B, Iron Treads moves down into C. Sandy Shocks moves up to B. The rest of the tiers the rest of the Pokemon stay where they're at for the most part.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much sums it up.
Yep.
Will the meta change again and we'll have to probably remake this in like 2 weeks? Probably. Come talk to me after Knoxville. I'm about to say Carter's going to have first-hand experience in Knoxville, so if you see him there, go bug him.
Yeah, by all means, come see me. I'll be the guy with the big beard wearing a LRL shirt.
Yep, I'm wearing mine today.
I'm really hoping my new ones come in, because I haven't got shipping confirmation on those yet. I ordered them last week when we recorded.
Well.
So that would have been, what, Sunday?
Yeah. So it's only been a couple days. It hasn't been a full week yet, so.
Yeah, well.
They'll probably ship on Monday.
Maybe. My jerseys I bought for the Super Bowl shipped. I ordered them the day of the championship games, and they shipped yesterday.
Oh, so
and they're shipping from China.
Yeah, you're not going to see those.
I will not be wearing those Sunday.
You're not. I'd be surprised if you ever see those. Let's be real,
dude. I've ordered stuff from those shady websites on the internet with T-shirts or whatever. Yeah, I've ordered stuff from them before, and it's always good stuff. I have a bunch of shirts like that, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you're ever gonna actually see those though.
Because, dude, their shipping policy on their website is 1 to 3 days after your payment is processed. And so I messaged them last week, after we got done recording and everything. I'm like, hey, it's been over a week since I ordered these, and these haven't shipped yet. What's going on? They're like, well, yeah, they haven't shipped. Do you want a refund? I said, no, I want the stuff I paid for. That's why I ordered them. I just want to know why. This is your shipping policy, and you all aren't following it. Their exact words were, and I quote, "If you want it, you're going to have to wait."
I mean, yeah.
It's
at that point, I would have just taken the refund and just said, "No, I'm good."
I want my damn jerseys.
I'll take my money elsewhere.
The problem is the price I paid for my 2 were less than 1 actual NFL jersey.
Let's see here. What do we got left to talk about? Oh, Team of the Week. We have Team of the Week left to talk about.
Yes.
Okay, Pony Boy. Let's figure this out. Walk me through
Let's talk about the pony. So here's the thing about the pony. It was fine. The part that really impressed me was Hatterene. Hatterene was absolutely bananas. Every time I played it, I'm just like, ooh, this is really good. It's just like, it just continued to do that. Every time I brought it to a game, I'm just like, man, we lived this hit. I don't know how, but we did. And just like, oh, it was really impressive. To the point where I've stolen this set and been slapping it on teams. Psychic Seed and DD, I'm not particularly a fan of. I really like safety goggles. Because, like, if you're going to redirect, like, a spore or whatever to prevent a trick room from going up, like, if you're paired next to, like, Armor Rouge and you don't want a Terra to be able to do the thing, safety goggles is just another way of, like, shutting down Brute Bonnet and or Amoonguss, while then also being able to pressure them the next turn with either of your, like, trick room setters. So, like, that's one thing that I've taken from this and have adapted. Belly Drum Hands, I think I got to do it once, and it was sick. It was also a game where I got Iron Hands burnt, and it's just like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to continue to punch you.
I'm just going to punch you still. It'll be fine.
That being said, I'm still a large fan of Lum plus Sword Stance instead.
Yeah.
Like, I've basically taken this team and put it, like, taken all the parts I really like and made, like, my version of this. So, it's really cool. Armor Rouge, I never once triggered its policy, so, like, take that with what you will. In one of the games I recorded, like, I played off camera, I had it happen, it's just like, oh, okay, well, now you're dead.
I feel like a lot of what this team does is there's some powerful leads here. Mm-hmm. Like, you have Choice Scarf Annihilate with U-Turn. You have Terra Grass, Weakness Policy Armor Rouge, which is very, very powerful. Hatterene and DD, we know from Sword and Shield, is very, very strong. Iron Hands is Iron Hands. And then the Mudsdale does this kind of just, like, slapped on here.
And, I mean, to answer, like, why Mudsdale? Because Bruno had a shiny and he wanted to play it.
Yeah.
Which is literally the reason I messaged them and asked for the team. Like, word for word, the reason I wanted to play this team is because I have a shiny Mudsdale and I want to play it.
Exactly. Like I said, Hatterene, you said Hatterene probably was just, like, the big, like, standout on this. I'm not surprised. Hatterene hadn't really been played at all and kind of had a very strong showing in Orlando. So I would expect Hatterene to kind of tick up in usage as the format probably goes on. Not having expanding force on Hatterene is a downside, though.
It is. I do think you and I were kind of talking off camera about, like, what Hatterene needs to do to be relevant in this format, and I think the big answer is be able to, like, live a hit from always live a hit from Fluttermane, which I believe is technically possible. I think you can always live a Shadow Ball if you're, like, a non-zero amount invested into special defense, but then, like, you're losing your special attack. Mm-hmm. So, like, you could answer that with your Terra typing then, right? Like, why be Terra Fairy here if you can change that to Terra Dark, or, you know, anything that resists Ghost then? Which I think then answers your next big problem is the amount of, like, Steel type moves that are running around and, like, Terra Steel Pokemon that are running around. I think that if you can answer both, like, Fluttermane and all the Terra Steel Pokemon running around, you're in a really good position.
Yeah, which this team does a very good job of answering any Steel types in front of it with Ground type, 2 Fighting types, and a Fire type.
Yeah, exactly.
The Annihilate that explains actually why Hatterene probably does so well on this squad in particular.
Yeah, like, Annihilate, like, you see it and it's just, like, this big goofy thing that just clicks Final Gambit. There was a game where, like, I led in DD plus Annihilate, anticipating Trick Room plus Final Gambit, and they gave me an Intimidate boost immediately. I'm just like, Well, now my goal is just to punch you with this stupid monkey.
I'm about to say, I'm just gonna punch you, yeah. That's the cool part about Defiant.
Now my goal is to make this monkey just punch you as hard as I possibly can over the next several turns.
Yeah.
So it's just like, the next several turns were Helping Hand, Rage Fist, Helping Hand, Rage Fist, Follow Me, Rage Fist. And then, I think if I remember correctly that game, I ended up setting Trick Room, swapping out Annihilate, to then bring it in late game and click Final Gambit to one-shot something.
just body them after the fact.
Yeah, just like, this is complete overkill. Any attack would do this, but Final Gambit you.
Is Final Gambit based off your current HP or your total HP?
Current HP.
Okay.
It's like, it doesn't always work, but man, when it does, it's absurd.
Okay. But yeah, rent code is on screen for those that want it. Big shout out to Bruno for sharing this with us. It
was really fun. I really, really enjoyed it.
Next week's laddering is probably going to be Carter getting ready for Knoxville.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's going to be some team he's looking at, maybe making a copy of eventually, or looking at something similar to.
I can't remember what I had on the docket. I think I already have one lined up.
Oh, cool.
And I don't remember off the top of my head what it is.
Don Dozo.
Absolutely. You can't pay me to play Dozo.
I mean, we don't get paid at all, so.
You say that, but I'm not playing it. I don't like Dozo.
I love it. I really love Dozo. I think the combo is great.
I think it's probably time to get out of here.
Yeah. It's probably time to walk out. What do you think?
It's probably time to go get dinner.
I'm about to say it's dinner time.
I'm really hoping Tiff has got dinner for me. I'm a hungry little baby.
Get us on out of here, bub.
You weren't ready for that, were you?
No, I don't think anybody was ready for it.
All right, everyone. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening over on YouTube, if you're listening on any of the audio platforms, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Hit the subscribe button. Get all those notifications when our new stuff goes up every week. Past that, if you want to, go ahead and follow us over on Twitter at LR Lessons. Carl and myself can also be found over there at Mr. Missouri 25 and at Musical VGC. Carl and I are also both on Twitch. If you want to follow us there, you can do so at Mr. Missouri 25 and at Musical. Past that, come and hang out in the community Discord. That link is always down in the show notes. We have a tournament coming up on the 19th.
Yes, currently.
And yeah. So that'll be next Sunday. Make sure you go get signed up for that and everything. That's always in the Discord. And of course we have our dojo matches and everything else you can play in every week and all kinds of good stuff. Let's see. Past that, you can go ahead and check out the website. That is lrlessons.com. That has the links to everything. Yeah. Everything is always on there. If you ever have a question of, hey, where can I find the website?
Yep, just go to the website.
Go check out the website. But yeah, we have everything linked there, including our merch store. So if you want to, pick up some merch, help support us, and have some stylish clothing to go along with it, by all means, that's the best way to do so. Mm-hmm. And as always, I wanted to shout out our where is it? There we go. I want to shout out our $10 and up patrons. If you want to be, if you want to be in this, what am I trying to say here? If you want to be in this elite group of supporters, you can always do so over at patreon.com. Special shout outs to Johnny Bravo Sr., Papa Swish, and Dylan of Paldea. And I think with that being said, I think it's time to get out of here for the night.
I think that's it.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And until then, have a good one. Peace.